there was the rise of nationalism at that point of time. So the Britishers now they are going to, think that if the nationalism is going to be there, so it is going to be detrimental for the, British rule in India. Because the more the people are divided, the more it would be beneficial for the British to rule in India, because divide and rule could make their rule much more easier. However, what is going to happen is that here what is going to happen, that when the rising nationalism is going to happen, because of that rising nationalism, what happens is that these particular people, okay, the Britishers, they feel insecure. Okay, the Britishers, they are going to feel insecure, and in that insecurity, what the Britishers are going to do is they are going to declare to divide Bengal. That means they are going to, think of partitioning Bengal. Why? Because Bengal at that point of time, okay, it had a population of more than, okay, it had a population of more than 70 million. So when Bengal, it had a population of more than 70 million at that point of time. Okay, here also you can see, okay, this is going to be the area. Means if you see at that point of time, some part of Odisha, Bangladesh, West Bengal, Assam, okay, these other areas. So all of this, they were known as Bengal. So in so much of a big area, there was more than that much of population. So the particular means by the time period of 1903, okay, the Britishers then think that if we divide the Bengal in a manner, okay, of religious lines, okay, of religious line, that means this particular part it was to be given to Muslims, okay, and this particular part it was given to Hindus, then the nationalism would be divided. Why? Because up till now what was happening is that because of the rising nationalism, both the Hindu and the Muslims, they were coming together. Okay, they were being united. So this was a threat for the British in India. So now the British thought that if we divide Bengal, automatically the nationalism would reduce. Okay, but the question was that what were they to tell the public, that why are they doing the partition? So what they tell is that here they are going to decide on telling the public that managing so much of population, okay, it is very much difficult for us. Okay, the administration is difficult, that is why we need to divide the Bengal in order to make administration much more effective and efficient. So what they do is that in 1903 they are going to make that decision of dividing Bengal. So when they are going to take that decision, okay, they are going to make it public in December 1903. And as soon as this decision was made public in December 1903, what is going to happen is that there is going to be an anti-partition struggle, the anti-partition campaign that is going to be started by the moderates. Why? Because I have already explained the moderate nationalism is going to be there between 1885 till 1905. So what happens is, as soon as this was done, an anti-partition campaign was started by the moderate nationalistic leaders in Bengal. Okay, and when the moderates are going to start it, they are going to do it for nearly 2 years. That is till 1905. And why have I taken 1905? Why? Because the moderates, in spite of conducting the activity anti-partition campaign for 2 years, yet the British in the year of 1905, they are going to decide on partitioning Bengal. That means that for the 2 years that these people did the particular movement, anti-partition movement, okay, it is going to be a failure. Okay, it was a failure. That is the reason the Britishers announced it, right? The partition. If they would have succeeded, the Britishers wouldn't have announced the partition. So that is why the 2 years, what is going to happen is the movement was under the moderate leaders of Bengal. So there were some leaders known as K.K. Mitra, Surendranath Banerjee, and Pratwish Chandra Ray, who are going to be starting the movement at that point of time, okay, in the Bengal. And they are going to keep the movement limited to Bengal. Now, because they were the moderate nationalists of Bengal, so they started the anti-partition campaign, means they did not want the partition of Bengal, because they also knew that if the partition of Bengal happened, automatically the nationalism would reduce. So here they started their anti-partition campaign. But the question was that how were they to do the anti-partition campaign? What was the method? What was the features of it? So we are aware that the moderate leaders, they were constitutional, they followed the constitutional methods. So automatically these leaders would also follow the constitutional methods. That is, they would write petition, they would do the prayers in front of the British, they would create awareness, public meetings, newspapers and everything. And then they are going to show that many people are not in support of your decisions, so it is constitutional mechanisms. They were also, through various newspapers creating awareness, that is Hitabadi, Sanjivani and Bengali, and this has been asked by the UPSC in the examinations. But in spite of them, what happened is that the Britishers then decided that we are going to make the announcement, means we are going to divide the Bengal. So here when they make the announcement public in July 1905, now it was clearly understood, means see, during these 2 years, even under the moderates, many Hindus and Muslims, they are going to come together and they are going to talk to the British that no, we do not accept your particular partition plan. Okay, so when they are going to talk to the British here at that point of time, the British, okay, they sidelined such a massive support, okay, towards the anti-partition. The British sidelined it, and yet the British declared that they would partition the Bengal. And at that point of time, it was quite evident that by 1905, the moderates were not that fruitful in Bengal. And that is why the extremists, they are going to come, means now the extremists, they are going to come to the forefront. Because the extremists from the initial time period only, they were telling that the moderates, in spite of you doing such steps, okay, it would not be that fruitful. Why? Because the Britishers would not listen to you. And many people at that point of time, they were following the extremist also. Means here what I want to tell you is that when I showed you this diagram, okay, of moderate and extremist, okay, so what is going to be the scenario is that, okay, during the time period of 1885 till 1905, okay, we are not saying that the extremists, they were never there in the picture. We are saying that if this is the diagram, okay, so the moderates, they were in majority, whereas the extremists, they were in minority. Okay, however, by the time period of 1905 till 1911, what do we see is that the what do we see is that the extremists, they were in majority and moderates, they were in minority. Okay, means the power of extremists, it was somewhat increasing. So what do we understand that the extremists, they were there, however they were not there in majority. Okay, so when the anti-partition movement was happening, the extremists were telling that things would not be that successful, and some people accepted to them. But because the moderates were more in number, so people generally followed the moderates. But by 1905 time period, it was clearly evident that the moderates had failed, and now the extremists, as soon as the partition was made public, the extremists, they are going to come in the picture. And in the Calcutta area, okay, there was a town hall wherein the extremists, they are going to meet, okay, they are going to convene a meeting, and also the people had come to the Calcutta town hall, and there they gave the guidelines of Swadeshi movement and boycott movement. So here in the Calcutta town hall, they are going to pass a proclamation, okay, that we, here they are going to pass a proclamation about the boycott resolution. And here in the Calcutta town hall, as soon as they passed the boycott resolution on 7th August 1905, the Swadeshi movement was proclaimed. So the anti-partition movement came to an end, because the partition was told that it would happen, and in place of that, a new Swadeshi movement came. So what was the Swadeshi movement? The Swadeshi movement, it was basically the idea that the Swadeshi things, okay, that means the Indian made things, they were to be promoted. So just understand this one thing, that Swadeshi and boycott, they are somewhat simultaneous in nature. So for example, if the Swadeshi movement has to be successful, the boycott was brought. Because if you want, like in today's time, just take today's time, if Indian and Chinese products are there, if we are doing the Swadeshi, that means we are the Indians are also producing that product, and even the Chinese have produced that product and the Chinese have sent it to India. They have sent that product to India. Now what happens is that the Indian product and the Chinese product, they are competitive in nature. Okay. However, here the Chinese product is 1 to 2 rupees cheap, so the people would buy Chinese in spite of the India producing that same product. So that is why simultaneously, if a boycott movement is started, that boycott Chinese products, so automatically, even if it was less in price, the people, if they are boycotting it, automatically the Swadeshi goods, they would be more. Okay, the indigenous goods, Swadeshi means indigenous. So the indigenous goods, they are going to be purchased more. So similarly, here also, when the Swadeshi movement was proclaimed, simultaneously a boycott movement was also there. Okay, that somewhat was there to aid and promote the particular movement, that is of Swadeshi. Now during the Swadeshi movement, when it was launched, just 2 months later, on 16th October 1905, the Britishers are going to declare that we are going to make the partition public. Okay, when the Britishers declared that now Bengal would be divided, so they are going to divide the Bengal